So one of the issues is we've got to try and get a chem flare that lights up all of these ones. I don't think that happens. I'm just going to see where the chem flare will throw. So if we get it there, we could light up that one and take him as he's walking into... like there. We can get him as he's walking away into the building. That means we have to use 2 cooldowns, and she doesn't have Twitch Shot. This is where we'd need Twitch Shot, or we just use an extra chem flare. But I think in future we'd have to use Twitch Shot on Selma on him. Take him out. Use Twitch Shot on the bot at the back, and then use use Twitch Shot on the police bot Enforcer, and then use Duck's ability on the other police bot. And then we have to hope that we get one of the EMP's stacks on that one. Or we go in and use loud weapons. Twitch Shot on the boomstick. Oh, we need to use the thing though. I think that's the plan. I think we're going to throw that chem flare, then hit the bot when it's like there. Let's hit this guy first. We're gonna have to throw a chem as well.
I've got this. Hey guys, come here.
We can use Borman's 50-50 first. If not, Duck can throw the chem. That was a bad play. That only works if Selma has Twitch Shot and we give her the 50. No, yeah, because hers is only a 20% if we can, and she doesn't have Twitch Shot. That's what we need to do in the future, though. Once we get Twitch Shot for her.
Not today, dickwad.
She's subtle. He's stunned, but knocked down. But gets up.
Over here.
Oh, what's this? 100% chance to knock back enemies. Damage module. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so that plan that we just did is fine for not throwing a chem if we have Twitch Shot on Selma. On the 1 armored 24 HP enemies. But that was a bad play, because if we don't hit that with Borman, pretty sure we don't. We get alerted then. Although we just picked up an EMP grenade, so we should probably just use them. Because the flares we can use at other locations, the EMPs we can't. So picking up one is worth, I think, worth spending one here. How are we for cooldowns? That's... we'd have to use a chem to make that viable. And that one comes back after this kill. Yeah, I think we just throw an EMP here. Duck, you can throw. I wonder if we hit it, throw it at the other guy. No, he is fine. Throwing it, using the MP for the 2 guys though. Then leave combat and use it there. It's probably a better throw. I'd probably use one there as well, actually. Okay, you shouldn't have to sprint. EMPs are an extra round as well. Roll on reload. Can we get Twitch Shot for Selma yet? Alright, so that's huge. So what that does now is that does mean we can, if we don't get the 50-50 on Borman, we just use Selma's Twitch Shot. We throw a chem flare with duct and then use Selma's Twitch Shot to do the double damage. I think we're all off cooldown now though. Yeah, but we have to throw a chem flare if we want to use Dux's. Kingdom Come Deliverance, Naughty Pine.
Come on.
Okay, so that's an Enforcer. there's supposed to be a robot right here. That's an enforcer as well. As in it, the AMA. They'll tell you everything went right though. They had lots of sales. The game got lots of awards and stuff. And it got a lot of reviews by player that, like, the reviews came out by, I don't want to call them journalists because it feels wrong for the dribble that they type in their, you know, online blogs and e-magazines. But like they're under pressure to play enough of the game and get something written and put out within a very short time frame. And when you jump into a large-scale RPG, 10 to 20 hours play will give you some of the things. Like, most of them did mention about like the graphic issues with the model popping and a lot of the sort of the see-through necks when you're speaking to NPCs for like quest dialogue, which was blatantly should have, you know, that stuff, it's one of the first things you see when you're even play testing. So they shouldn't have released in that sort of state. But a lot of them put the fumbling mechanics down to something that maybe takes time to get used to and can, you know, and just a tiny bit clunky, apart from being really, like, it was just very badly designed. A lot of them didn't even comment on the failed lock-picking mechanic, and comboed with the fact, because they didn't do it, they weren't doing side quests and things. But it copped a lot of flack from streamers, because we're the ones actually playing it and trying to do all the quests and putting 40 plus hours into it. Okay. So if Borman hits, we don't have to do anything. Otherwise, Selma throws a flare and Duck uses his deal. Right, so that EMP, so we're fine now. I don't know how Dux is caught, because this guy's... I don't think there's anyone behind us. But the game sold a lot of copies and got a lot of positive things. And they did work on it afterwards, but I was so badly burnt by the playthrough that I didn't care what they may have been doing. I just wasn't interested in anything after the original playthrough. And I didn't do a lot of the things I wanted to during the game. I just got to a point where I'm like, no, I just want to finish the story and get out. His sensors still work. Okay, that makes sense, Edwin.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they... Well, that doesn't explain why they get up when you knock them over. I want to see if Borman... if he can add EMP time. Or if once it's EMP, that's it. We'll only know if it gets to that point.
Right.
Yahtzee Croshaw has been a video game critic and developer and an author for a long time. He does a series, I think it's weekly he puts it out, called Zero Punctuation for The Escapist magazine. It's a YouTube video, it usually lasts about 5 minutes, where he talks extremely fast without taking a breath. which is why it's called Zero Punctuation, I guess. And he is known for giving scathing reviews for bad games for being bad, and he trashed it. Like it was one of the most brutal reviews I've seen him do. And it was, you know, it's how it is, right? He says it how it is. Like, there's a lot of games that, I don't know, maybe we've just, as a gaming society, we've come to accept the fact that the bar is low, and so when someone meets that low bar with a bad product, well, we rave over it. We're like, oh, it's amazing because it was better than the other trash that was like really bad. And then something decent that sort of should be standard comes out, and we're like, oh my god, you know, because we're just that desperate for someone to actually make a decent product. And I think that sort of unfairly, you know, then you get games that are truly amazing, like this game, Mutiny Zero, is phenomenal, and I think it possibly gets undervalued because there's that sort of comparison of, you know, to inferior products with you second guess, is it actually good, or is we just used to such crappy games that we're just happy to see something good? Of all the games that exist out there, what games do I think is best overall? You can't do that. I think mainly because from a game point of view, I'm not going to sit down and play a game over and over and over again if it's a single playthrough style game just because it was a really good game. Whereas a movie, I could watch a movie a year later because I'm just going to sit back and watch and be reminded, you know. Whereas a lot of games that have elements of, some things are good because of the element of surprise, that they don't have that anymore. And DDR, Dance Dance Revolution, yeah, that was nice. It was fun. You know, you get a lot of things that come out that have that sort of fun fact.
To your future. Welcome to your new life.
There'll be someone straight up that'll say, oh, it's not very not very friendly for people with movement impairments, you know. It's like, well, it's a dancing game. Like, what you'd expect. Yeah, they were honest about it. I've got a lot of favourite games. Into the Breach rates very highly for me. I like puzzle games that... like repetitive puzzle games. And the funny thing is, a lot of people point out these reasons why it's not as good as FTL. I actually think it's better than FTL, but that's because I like that style of game more. The first Mario Party on N64 was amazing. Guitar Hero? Yeah. I actually like the drum kit for Hero game. Everyone's got cooldown, so I think we go for the 50-50 again, and if not, she throws a flare and ducks. Oh, this one's... No, she can use a twit... Or Dux throws a flare? No, she throws a flare and Dux uses his thing. That's the play. Is that the play? He 50-50s. Because we can't throw a flare from Dux and use the twitch shot. Otherwise, we have to use her twitch shot as well. That's a good bailout, though, if we go really bad. But no, we 50-50 with Borman. Because it's a 24 police spot. If he misses, she throws a flare and Dux uses his thing. Or if he fails to EMP. Nice. Like even things like the original Mario Kart,
Gotcha.
you know, because that then leads to Mario Kart 64 and the numerous, you know, Mario Kart sequels that come from that. You know, or go way back. Like, let's go way back. And you know, Metroid and Castlevania and what they did for the gaming industry. And that's funny because I often say I don't
Get
like.
over here.
I think I have to get over the fact that I personally don't like describing games as other games, although, and I get reminded that roguelike is a category of its own, and so is Metroidvania. You know, like, it's the way it is, right? So we've got two there that are right next to each other, and we've got one patrolling over here and one in a corner. Rewarding campy players does not make it is not a bad thing. I mean, it's not fun for gameplay, but that doesn't change the quality of the game. Like, unfortunately, camping in most games, especially like most shooter games, is optimal strategy. Right? Whereas charging out in the open, giving away your position, is not good strategy. It kind of makes sense, right? So unless you have some way of combating that, like, it's kind of like how in the time eater fight we had tonight, I got up to 56 block and was dealing, what, 9 damage? And time eater has 400 plus health and was blocking for 20 occasionally. So I had to end turn like a bunch of times because that was the best strategy. I was camping against time eater, and everyone was fine with that because we wanted to get the win. Any games I'd rank 10 out of 10? No. I don't think I ever would rank a game 10 out of 10. That isn't a single player campaign. Well, true, but why should anyone... Like, you're playing a PvP game where the goal is to win. Generally, some people play with a different goal, but the majority of people play competitive games to win. And anyone that says, oh, they play to meme, well, they still want to try and win with their meme. It just doesn't happen a lot, right? And so if the best strategy involves... Oh, it's not camping. You sitting and waiting at an advantageous position, waiting for the perfect opportunity to ambush your opponent. It's different, right? No 10 out of 10s. I think it makes it very hard, because what happens if something comes along that's better? Significantly. That's why I don't generally like rating on a number scale for objective. Is it objectivity? Subjectivity? I can never remember which one's which. I do that with a lot of definitions where I
Want some more?
Nice. I get two things. I know what both of them mean, and I know what the two words are, but I use the wrong one.
Yeah, I did that. What do you think about that, huh?
Because, yeah, once you get to 100%, how do you rate the next one that comes along that's better? I mean, you're allowed to give anything 100 out of 100 or a 10 out of 10. You know, this is just my opinion and why I don't rate things on a numerical scale that, you know. I mean, I think the snapshot in time is fine for technical capabilities, because there's only so much you can do with whatever graphics power you have at the time or anything else. But there's a lot of concepts that could have been brought out at any time. I think FTL is a really good example of that. And I think in this situation, FTL works better for this example than Into the Breach does. FTL could have been made 20 years ago in pretty much the exact form it currently is that it was released in. So would that have made it have a better score 20 years ago? Because I'd be surprised if there weren't some reviews that didn't give it as high a rating as it should have got because they downrated the... I should have moved ducks in further as well. Because they downrated the graphics on it. Whereas, you know, fans of FTL are quite happy with the graphics in it. It doesn't need to have super fancy graphics. It's got what it needs to function as a really awesome game.
Get over here.
But like I said, that's just how I rate games. I haven't worked out a scale or a rating system or anything like that. So to do that, I'd actually have to start working out, how do I rate this? What do I give for this sort of thing? And I just never have, and I'm not a professional rater, so I don't need to have some way of doing that. The way we grade games today is unlike 20 years ago. Well, I don't know. There's quite a lot of sites and people that rate games the exact same way they did 20 years ago. They give it a, like, out of 10 points for graphics and out of 10 points for this, or out of 20, and then they end up with a score out of 100. That's the way they rated games 20 years ago. It's how they rated games 10 years ago, 5 years ago, today, and how they'll rate games for the next 20 years. You know? Pokemon is a perfect game? No, it's not. JRPG combat is shithouse. Like, it's the perfect flaw in why JRPGs are such a usually epic failure, is because the combat of back and forth of I did 4 damage, you did 5, I did 6, you did 4, is like, requires very little thought process. But it was great at the time because it was aimed at, you know, I liked it for children when it came out. My younger brother played it, and it was really good at helping him with some better at mathematics. Yeah, you were 10 years old, so at that stage, a 10-year-old would rate Pokemon really high. My little brother rated it very high. I played it and I said, I'm glad you enjoy it, and I could see that it was helping him with maths, because it was simple maths, you know, looking at the hit points and damage numbers and stuff.
I got this one.
So why the original Final Fantasies didn't hold up as we got older, because the stories were okay, like I'm talking about the NES versions, but the combat was that awful combat that was great for children playing video games, because you're like, I'm playing a video game and I'm doing these attacks and hitting them, but as you got older you're like, these attacks really aren't that good, you know, it's not that fun.